Okay, let's talk about Perez Hilton and Joe Felz. There's some shit going on, guys. Okay? It's not good, obviously. I cannot speak to what happened in either of those cases. I can just speak to what I personally experience. And that is that I have days of where old programming comes up and it's very scary. It's not an easy thing to sit here and battle my mental demons. Now, I don't believe in entity possession, really. I don't believe in possession. I don't believe in that stuff personally. I think it is a personal responsibility that people have to take for their own neural pathways and what they have been programmed into their minds and stuff like that. But I do believe that drugs can induce psychosis and can bring forward repressed things or, issues like that. I think that that's what it sounds like to Perez Hilton and probably Joe as well. I have no idea what happened with them, but I just know that I don't think it was like some entity that like came into their body and possessed them and caused them to do those things. I think it was either a drug induced psychosis or it was just old programming that they had to face, and they just and that's the thing is you don't know what people are battling. I'm very honest about the programming that I have to battle and what I have unfortunately programmed into my brain to keep myself safe and survive this reality was exiting this reality, was thoughts of that, because that's how I kept myself safe all my life, because it was so painful to exist in my reality that my brain needed some sort of okay, well, if this gets too bad, we can exit it. And so I'm still fucking battling that shit. And I've realized that change is the only thing that's actually going to help it, getting out of here. That's the only thing that's going to actually help me at some point in my life. And until such time, I just have to battle the demons. But it's really fucking hard. And it's been harder than ever for me. And I'm at a much greater awareness. I'm at much greater strengths than I've ever been to be able to fight it and to be able to combat it with new neurological programming. But it's difficult, and it is one of those things where I cannot control when it happens to me. I'll just wake up and I'll just have a terrible day for 4 hours, or I'll have a full bad day, or it'll only be a couple hours that it comes on. But it is one of those things where it's it does come on. It's one of those things where I'm not always in that state of mind. I'm not always in that programming, but it just randomly occurs. And so when it does, I have to take very good care of myself. And I have to be very aware in those moments. And I have to sit down and I have to make sure I'm not driving a vehicle, or I'm not doing things that I could potentially harm myself. So I don't take drugs or do any of that type of stuff when I'm in those mindsets. And so that's my biggest prediction for the two of them is that they just happen to be caught. The Mercury retrograde, we're still in the shadow of it. Today's the last day. The Mercury retrograde has kicked my ass. You guys have seen how horrible it's been for me. So, I do think astrology is a big part in it, and what we're going through astrologically, and Saturn is now in retrograde as well, which is actually good for people who need good karma, but it's bad for people who are in bad karma. And so, mental health is a part of it. It's it's not just demonic possession. Although we are in a spiritual warfare. That is what I will say. We are spiritually attacked in our spirits because we are so depressed and we're so hopeless and we're so all these things. And that's why it's so important to rewire your neural pathways. That's all I can say is and try to sit with your demons if you have them, and be kind to them, and, let it come through and observe it and know that it's just a passing feeling, that it will pass eventually. That's what's really been helping me is lately especially is I know I'll always get out of it, because I always do. It sometimes it's a full day, sometimes it's a few hours, but it always goes away. So But it's really, really hard to do that if you are not in a sober state of mind or anything like that. Now, people are saying that Perez Hilton had sepsis or something like that. And they think maybe it's like post-septic syndrome. That's a possibility. It could be that. But in combination with the fact that he recently, like, has gone to Jesus and he, like, you know, became kind of religious and things like that. You know, if people aren't holding Jesus and Christianity dualistically, that is psychosis. That is like a type of spiritual psychosis. Like if you are, like if you've gone from one extreme to the other and you're like not holding things dualistically or realistically, like you shouldn't be worshiping Jesus. Like Jesus, again, for me, wasn't just like one person. I don't depend on Jesus to solve all my problems, you know, like that kind of shit. It can like lead into psychosis. And same with like biblical references like demonic possession and things like that. I do believe in demonic possession. I do believe people experience that. I don't think that's what it was though with either of them. I really don't. Or, you know, again with what was his name that he just passed away? David, whatever the hell his name was. Frick, I forget his name. He just, you know, he was on this path too. And, you know, they said that was a shmooshmide. With Joe Felz, they're saying it was a shmooshmide. With, obviously, Perez Hilton, that was attempted shmooshmide. So, yeah, I didn't see the video. I haven't seen the video. I haven't, you know, any of that stuff. I didn't watch the live when it was happening. So I didn't watch it, But I do believe, you know, I do believe in possession. I do believe in that kind of stuff because I have had an experience with it. Like my ex, before my other ex, like my very first boyfriend that I ever had, when one night when he drank whiskey, it felt like he had like that happen to him because he flipped a switch and that was it. And then it was like, I was being attacked by him for like no fucking reason. And he usually wasn't like that. And it was only when he drank whiskey. So I do believe that alcohol can induce that too, like allowing spirits to enter. But I just think it's very rare. And I think it's more likely like a psychosis type of situation or, you know, drug induced, alcohol induced psychosis. It can't happen, especially if, you know, you're in an already susceptible, vulnerable state of mind, which is why I do not drink alcohol and I do not do drugs. You know, like I smoke weed from here and there, but not the way I used to, not enough to induce a psychosis, you know, that kind of stuff. And then I don't take any psychedelics at all anymore. I don't do any of that type of stuff because I know I'm in a vulnerable state. I know that I'm not like quite at a place where like, you know, like I feel fully in control of, like my programming and stuff. So it's just dangerous. It's just, and you know, we had the light worker who ended up murdering somebody. And I think that was drug induced psychosis. So like we're seeing it. So like, that's why you have to be so fucking careful with your neural pathways. And even if you believe this is demonic possession, it's like, okay, well, like you gotta be very careful with that. You have to be so careful with believing in demonic possession because it just creates fear. It creates fear, and fear is what those things feed off of. So it's like if you're in that state of mind, it's like that's why it's beneficial for you to believe it's psychosis over demonic possession, because then you're already taking the fear away from it. You know, you're already taking like something can come get me then, you know, like that's the issue is like people think that like something can come get them and like do this to them, and it's like unless you are putting substances in your body, no, this cannot happen to you, you know, and for the people that it is happening to, we'll get an explanation someday, but, you know, I'm seeing a lot of people be like, this is demonic possession, this is spiritual warfare, this is like all this stuff, and there is truth to that, but if that is all you're believing, and you're not also believing, like, this is the path that they chose, and maybe it's psychosis, and probably drug induced, and, like, the reality and the realisticness of it, too, then that's not good. It's not good for your brain to do that, because then you put your brain in fear mode, and it's like, don't do that. Do not try as best you can to get out of all lanes of fear. All lanes of fear. Seriously, because this is kind of a result of that, of programming your brain in a fear type of way. And I hate to say that, but that's just like where I'm observing things, and that's like my channels. So you don't have to agree with that, but this is my channels and this is what I believe.